Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so we have Carrie, Cindy, and Melissa. Signing for you. Carrie and Kira. Kira, now we don't have a picture of you yet. Okay, I guess Kira, Kira must be hiding behind the picture. Hopefully she will pop up in a second. So today, yeah, I've already got the agenda. It looks simple. So we'll discuss the contents, some contents in the chapter in books, and then we'll also watch a video, discuss it, and we'll also try to find some time for you and me, of course, exchange our thoughts about the upcoming assignments. For example, the ones due tonight or today, right, or in the future. Yeah, we can also do something else as necessary. Okay. So there you are, Kira. I can see you now. All the course handouts, I will upload them into the folder on Blackboard. Today, they are all in week one handouts. Some of them actually, the ones I've been using, actually, they are 2 pages are in the book, and the one I gave you, it's about how to read or research a journal article. Yeah, probably Carrie already printed them out. And on some paper there. So how all of us have already got the books? Okay, very good. So hello, George. Yeah. All right. So everybody's here. I don't want us to miss the discussion about the theory and research part, because if you have already read the page with the pentagon, theory and research is at the foundation or bottom of all the other things. And the last time we didn't go deep into this about the books. We haven't got a chance to read it. So today we are going to just briefly go over that, because I think they are important. And don't be nervous. I mean, in case you haven't got a chance to read it still, or forgot to read chapter 1, not chapter 1, before chapter 1, we'll do it in groups. We'll collaborate. Okay. So I'll divide it up time-wise. We'll make it faster. We have 6 people on Zoom, and yeah, altogether 12 people. Wonderful number. I know, right? Well, 13 is somebody's lucky number. All right. So first, we have Abraham Maslow. I think 3 of us can be in one group, and you work on one researcher or one psychologist, and then just briefly you lead us to learn about this person and mainly his theoretical contributions about human development or children's development. All right. You can just take down a few notes and then get ready to share with us. I can give you index cards in a minute for people in the room. And for you on Zoom, feel free to assign you into groups. So Carrie, would you like to work with Melissa and Vera? So you 3 will be one group. And Cindy and George, if you don't mind, you can be in one group working on someone. And then we'll see how many heads we have. So Abraham Maslow, do we have any volunteers for Abraham Maslow? Can work either in 2s or 3s. I also give you a handout about Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. time. So I'll just assign to, say, Cindy and George, if you don't mind. Later on, you feel free to talk to each other through Zoom, and I can just lower my volume, and you will not affect at all. We'll try it out. I think it will work. All right. And then the other person, if you are looking at page 2, T. Barry Brazelton and Stanley Greenspan, we'll find somebody to be in charge of that. How about Robert and Emily? Thank you. And then Eric Erickson, that's very important too. By the way, Stanley Greenspan, you would also cover, or you would start on page 5. So Eric Erickson is just one page in the book. So how about Betsy and Crystal? Okay, good. Jean Piaget, who likes Jean Piaget? Okay, well then, see, three of you, yeah. Okay. So Lev Vygotsky, of course, I bet most of you are familiar with him, and so we'll have Carrie, Melissa, and Kira. Did I assign anybody to you yet? I don't think so. Okay, so you will be in charge of Vygotsky today, and you will be his boss. All right, so study his contribution, mainly on, our book is on page 12. But one more thing, feel free to use your tech tools now, or your laptops. Quite a few of you brought laptops, and you can also use a computer, of course, to look up more things. If you want to know more, if you want to have more to share. And we'll have about 8 minutes to prepare for this. Okay. I'm going to give you some index cards for people in the room. And again, people, including George, of course, I'm going to use you as an example. Feel free to talk to Cindy through Zoom. I think you can still do that, right?
Okay, who do I search again?
Yours, that's a very good question because it's beyond me now. Yeah, Cindy, who did I assign you?
Maslow?
Maslow, yes. I think I give somebody to you as the first. Yes, Maslow, yeah. You can also refer to the handout on Blackboard in week 1. Yeah. Mainly, you will talk about the hierarchy of needs. How does it apply to our setting in classroom or child care program?
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
We were Vygotsky.
The triad, yeah, on Zoom, yes, you are Vygotsky. We have a third group member there with Kira. Fourth.
So how does this work so only my group members can hear me?
I thought about that. I don't know how. Yeah, unless we all log out or you log out and your group member log out, so you can just Zoom with. But you need to know each other's Zoom ID. Well, that's a little bit risky because if the connection is, if there's anything with the connection, it may take some time for you to be connected with us again. So we try just to mess around on Zoom. I don't think it will affect us in a room because I'll just lower the volume on the only laptop. Try talking again.
I can see the people, but the problem is we cannot all talk at the same time, because if the two of us are talking, then the other people can hear, and then that just kind of blurts out everything. So I don't know. I think that's one of the problems that I see, because I can see the people. Like I can see Cindy and Kara and the others, but it might be hard to communicate when on Zoom if we can't have like a barrier.
So now you cannot just click on one individual and talk to him or her.
I don't know if this helps or not, but like one group on this could talk, and then the other group could like chat with each other.
Oh, yes, you can chat. Yes, I know. Yeah. You can click on one participant or under the group to all. So you can type. Although that may not be as fast as talking, but still it will work. That's a good input, Kira. Thank you.
Thank you.
See whether I can group you.
Hey, Carrie. I tried to send you a chat. Can you see it? I don't know how this works for sure.
If you hit, by the way, excuse me, if you hit chat in the bubble and then you are looking at to everyone, if you click the little arrow and it will pop out with all the participants there. If you click anyone's name, then you will be chatting with only this person, and then you can't be seen by all the other people. If you hit any one person, it will show as private.
Can you see what I've typed in, or is it private?
I didn't see anything, so you probably were just chatting with one individual, or not to everyone. I didn't see anything.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're safe.
George is not showing up on my screen.
Mine?
No, mine.
You mean you posted some remarks to everyone?
No, I'm saying that George is not on the
Oh,
screen.
sorry. Well,
Now I see him. If I expand everything, I can.
Oh, okay.
Never mind.
All right. Good. We're learning about technology.
I just wrote you. I don't know your name. Sorry. Oh no, wait. Is it starts with the M?
Melissa?
Melissa.
Yeah, Melissa is in
Did
green.
you see my post? Oh. Okay. I got Carrie's. Did you see my post, Melissa? Oh. I got yours, Carrie.
This is good. Well, Zoom is really being used in professional and academic area a lot. Of course, I mean, they are for profit, they charge. I didn't pay, but I was a member of Newman group. I was added by IT as professional membership. If you're not a professional membership, you can not go longer than 40 minutes for session. How are we doing? Are we almost there? Not yet? Yeah, it took a while to figure out the technical challenges. Yeah, I know.
I'm only seeing at the bottom when you click on like two, like right now I have two Kiera Johnson, but if I want to chat and also add my other person, it'll click off that one. It's only letting me add one. Is anybody else having that problem?
I think it's the way it works.
So you can only add one person to the chat?
Yeah, let me try. Yeah, well, you cannot select more than one. I don't think you can. Or could we try somebody's name?
Can you see Kiera's comment at the bottom in that message I sent you? Or no?
I can. You're asking me, Marie. I don't know whether you can.
Let me see. Yes. No, I can't see Kiera's. I can only see the ones from you, not from Kiera.
I see both of your guys's.
Oh,
And I can see both of yours as well. I don't know. I can't see your first one, though. I can only see like after I added you at the bottom or whatever.
You know, I know the technical issues would have taken some time, but you know, you have the books, and you can just yeah, talk off the book. You can, although we will not probably just read word for word from the books all the time, but you may, I mean, feel free to use the resources on the pages, of course. I don't want to make it too challenging or unreasonable here because of the limits of space and connection. Can we be ready in a minute? You're already ready? All right. So yeah, let's just have a try. Anyway, feel free to talk. So we'll start with people, some groups in the room, because our friends on Zoom, they, of course, we have more challenges than people here. We don't have to be confined to the sequence in the chapter, so feel free to jump in or to start. Tell us who you're going to talk about, and then you can just start. Just teach us. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm testing the camera. I hope the camera was Robert and Emily. If you're looking at any page, what page is that? Oh, page two, not page five.
Dr. Nguyen, are you wanting to do Maslow first?
Well, did you hear? Actually, we had a group going.
No, we cannot hear them.
I was just thinking about that. Let me move the microphone. I'm sorry. Robert, do that again. Anyway, Robert, did you say anything, or even just a part of what you said just now again? Oh, thank you. So Cindy, they come here. Figure from. Cindy, could you hear me talking now?
I can hear you, but not any of the classmates.
Sounds like we have to be talking within certain distance of proximity to the microphone. Anybody, did you hear Robert talking?
No.
You guys do hear me? Yeah, well, so Emily, let's get going. Yeah, let's go on. So what do you have about the same person? Try on you. She was talking just now, Emily. Did you hear anything?
I'm not hearing anything.
Yeah, all your friends on Zoom are shaking their heads, so you're not alone. Very close to me. Try again, please. Oh, so the mics are not working. I'm just using a mic through the laptop. That makes better sense. So give me another second or a minute. Could they hear you constantly? Did you hear Emily talking just now?
No.
No, I was so try again, please, Emily. Hello, hello, hello. Every time we have a group discussion, every group or individuals will come to this platform. And that would be ridiculous. But then we cannot do any group discussion or any discussion at all then. All right, I hope the camera will also work. You know, it turns to the voice source. Yeah, fingers crossed. So, are you done?
Do you want me to be done?
Yeah, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Okay, so Stanley Greenspan charted 6 milestones for young children's emotional development. And these 6 milestones encompass the emotional development for birth to 4 years. And it goes along with what Brazelton and Greenspan jointly said. Children need strong, loving, safe relationships with grown-ups. They need to learn self-regulation and developing intentional communication with others. They need to use pretend play to create their own emotional ideas, to explore their feelings and make sense of the world around them. And they need adults to recognize and appreciate the child's ability to assert themselves, express themselves, and communicate with others. And then the last milestone was emotional thinking, and they begin to put together ideas and deal with the world logically. And like in the book, it says, for example, rather than simply hugging a doll, a child might explain that the doll is sad because she fell down and hurt her knee. And so they're connecting all of those ideas and how everything fits together.
Just how or why, yeah, young kids love the show, the Toy Doctor was the name of the show, and my kids just. Crystal, what is it?
Doc McStuffins.
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they look cute too. To me too. Very good, yeah. So good presentation about Greenspan from the first group. We had a little bit technical issues. It took us about 2 minutes to solve. Yeah, let's move on. Any group. Thank you.
All right. We had Piaget. He was interested in logical thinking. The kids' knowledge grows as they experiment with things, and accommodation and assimilation. And there were 4 stages of cognitive development. I'll share 1 or 2. You guys want to share 1 or 2?
I know. Yep, the sensor motor, 0 through 2. In this stage, kids are learning about the world and their senses. So they're learning to walk, learning to talk, learning about the world around them. And their motor skills. And then the pre-operational stage, during this stage, children become more aware of external events as well as feelings other than their own. They become
Their developmental language.
Yeah, their memory and imagination develop.
And that's age 2 to 7.
Yep.
You want to do the last 2?
Sure.
Do you not read that? No, I did not.
What was you can read the
Concrete.
operational.
Okay, the concrete operational, which during that stage is when the kids become aware of external events and having feelings other than their own. Ages 7 to 11 for the concrete operational stage. Almost 12 to adult. And the formal 12 to adult. So during this stage, the kids are able to use logic to solve problems and view the world and plan for their future. And he also really believes in pretend play. The kids can learn a lot through that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Just was a pre-operational stage.
What do you want to add to that, Sarah?
Yeah. Yep.
Was it covered the last stage in here?
The which one?
The last stage from 12 above.
The pre-operation? No,
No,
the formal operational?
Formal operation.
I looked it up online.
Yeah, it didn't, because it wasn't included here.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
So I looked it up.
Not necessarily according to the theme of this book, of course. Yeah. But that's very famous. Yeah, thank you, good job. Famous development by Jean Piaget, 4 developmental stages, and many people agree to it. And we also have some different opinions from some people about that, about the milestones or the dividing lines. Yeah, and some people have a different opinion about why 2 and 7 would be bracketed into the same age group, because they can be really different. Yeah, Jean Piaget, he had his good reasons out of observation and experiences of children. He started with his own, and he is a strong believer in play, which influenced many other educators or educational philosophers. Yes. Okay. So time-wise, yeah, accommodation, assimilation. We talked about schema, concepts. Okay, so let's move on time-wise. Who are you responsible for? Betsy and Crystal?
Eric.
Eric Erickson.
Okay. Well, Eric Erickson had 8 stages. There were 8 stages of man. It identifies a sequence of main. The main psychological tasks and achieve resolve for healthy development to occur. Those 8 stages, the first 5 was more dealing with just kids. The last 18, yeah, from birth to the year of 18. The last 3 are for adulthood. And like the first stage is infant to 18 months is trust versus mistrust. That's basically saying if the baby would cry, will someone come and take care of their basic needs? That's how they'll be able to have that trust that someone's always going to be there to take care of them. Second stage, 18 months to 3 years, is autonomy or independence versus shame and doubt. These kids from ages 18 months to 3 years, they develop, if they're given choices by the adults, they can be able to have those opportunities to learn to do things on their own. And they'll be able to carry that over to when they get older as well.
You mentioned, that's a good introduction too. You mentioned you had a question, or you didn't quite understand anything? Did you? No, oh, okay, sorry. You're talking about shame. Yeah, that's good, yeah. So anyway, it's just autonomy and shame, that it means that children can feel or can develop the sense of shame or doubt about themselves, especially when they were given or provided, negative comment or feedback. Yeah, that's also very important to know. The 8 stages of man, according to Erickson. Okay, so we're done with the groups in the room, right? Yeah, so let's try. By the way, so now probably you noticed that the camera could follow the source of the sound or voice. And I learned from Cindy's recommendation, so just now I adjusted through the arrow next to the video button. And I found, yeah, if I relocated to the second one, the active speaker video, it works better now. It works the way it should. Okay. So we have 2 groups on Zoom. Yeah, who will go first?
I'm going to step up and say we can. We had Vygotsky, who was a Russian psychologist. He's best known for the zone of proximal development, which is the circles. In the middle is what you can do, or what the child can do independently. The outside, the circle that's a little bit bigger, is what they can do with help, and the outside circle is what they cannot do. That frustration level. He believed that the cognitive development is limited to a certain range at any age, and they need someone to help push them into that next level. And also that social interaction was necessary for that to occur. Yeah, like, I also found it interesting, like, I read that he wasn't widely known in the West until he was published in 1962, which was after he had died.
He died too young. He died at 37 or even younger than that. He got more publications after his death. Well, thank you, Melissa. Yeah, good introduction. So anything more from your same group? I think, yeah, Carrie and Kira, you're in the same group. Do you have anything more to say? I don't know what your plan was.
I just had that one thing I found interesting was how he was big on the social interaction, and I think he saw adults as our role is to be really careful observers to see what zone the children are in, and that our job is not necessarily to instruct them, but to more, with our interactions, ask probing questions in order to assist the child, kind of scaffold the child to come to the answer on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yep, many good terms, important terms or concepts developed by Vygotsky from what you said. Yeah. Good, thank you. Kira, do you have anything more to add, or what have you found?
No, I didn't. What they said was basically sums it all up.
Okay, all right, yeah, thank you all the same. All right, so Cindy and George, how did your collaboration go? And then what did you come up with?
I'm going to let Cindy talk first, and then if I have anything else to say, I'll add my input. That way we're not talking over each other.
Yeah.
Thanks, George. We covered Abraham Maslow, and if you can all envision that pyramid of development, it will help you know who we're talking about. His theory is that all learning has to take place with one level. Upon each level has to be present in order for full learning to take place. So at the very bottom of the pyramid is the physiological level, which would be your physical well-being. For teachers, it basically tells me that if a child comes into your classroom hungry, tired, the family is in crisis, we can't expect them to learn their ABCs. Their focus is on those lower level needs. And we have to fulfill those first in order to get to that higher level thinking. His theory is questioned sometimes. One of the things that I found interesting was that sex is listed at the very bottom of the pyramid as a necessary component for the physiological needs. I think depending on who reads that pyramid would have a different take on that. If my husband were to see that, he would say, most definitely that's true. I could say that, no, probably not. I could live without that for quite some time being and still be able to learn. So that is one area that was questionable for me.
Thank you very much for sharing, Cindy. Yeah.
Go for it, George.
Yeah, I think what she said is very interesting that sex was on there. But I think another thing that I found interesting is on the third step, there's love and belongingness. And then on the fourth step, there is esteem needs. And what I think was interesting, it said that some people totally ignore the third step, the love and belongingness need, and just go straight to the esteem needs. And so I thought that was interesting. I also found out that the pyramid has been extended from the 1960s through 1970s. A few examples that they added was cognitive needs, which is basically the need. Basically the needs to meaningful things, wanting to know meaningful things. Another one was aesthetic needs, which is the appreciation and search for beauty. The last one was the eighth one, just right after self-actualization, transcendent needs. A person is motivated by values which transcend beyond their personalities. So I thought it was interesting that it was extended. I think another thing that was interesting was that the Maslow person, he focused on the positive sides of people instead of the negative sides, and he wanted to know what caused people to go into the right way instead of the wrong way. And that's basically all my input.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, very good findings, and yeah, you did a good job in sharing it with us. I think the extensions or the extended model was more comprehensive than the one I gave you, the one I'm presenting on screen now. You can all see it now, right? So this one may be the earlier version of his hierarchy or pyramid of human needs. And at the very bottom, the physiological needs, food, water, warmth, and rest. I agree. Well, actually, according to even Confucius, the Chinese philosopher, the Chinese educator, 3,000 years ago, he also included sex into the basic needs for human beings. He said, sex and food are human nature. But I'm fine. Well, I'm fine with either model. Yeah. I didn't meet your husband, Cindy, but I like you better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also actually it's written in this handout, this brief handout about Maslow. I might be repeating what you said, Cindy and George, about Maslow. The deficiency needs, obviously, we saw it there, includes the 4 levels, the lower 4 levels, from physiological needs, safety, belonging, and love needs, and esteem. If by deficiency, it means if these needs are not met, we don't have a good well-being. We either feel miserable or we feel we must get it and we need it. But for self-actualization, that's the F need or enrichment need. If we don't have it, we are fine. If we have it, we grow, we feel enriched, and we rise ourselves to a higher level in certain aspects. Okay. Thank you very much. You did a good job in presenting your research and also the contents in the chapter, regardless of the technical challenges. So really, our collective wisdom worked very well today. We solved the problems. Wonderful. It really took some time. So let's move on. We are supposed to talk about more things. Okay. Right here from the book. So we are still at item 1, 2 o'clock. We'll go over that. So today we should talk about chapter 1 and 2. Chapter 1 is about the knowledge of about infants, toddlers, and twos, and chapter 2 is about how to create responsive environments in our child care program. Let's do it this way. We will not read it from page to page in class. So we'll still. Well, we don't have to do it in groups then. We'll just you can feel free to talk to your friends, to your neighbor, find some people to talk to. Anyway, to share what you felt strongly about. There are. Let me stop sharing screen with you. Ideas kept changing. Since just now we work in groups. Give me just 1 minute. Again, so we have social emotion. Okay. 4 developments there: social, emotional, physical, language, and cognitive. We'll also do 4 groups. All right. And so when you got a task assigned to you, for example, some people will be in charge of social emotional development. You talk about what you can really relate to in this section, according to your own experiences as a child care provider and even as a parent. Yeah. Firstly, if necessary, you may familiar yourself again with the content in the chapter. You can thumb through the pages. If you forgot something, you can ask your friends to get you more familiar with it. All right. So social emotional development. Who was in charge of Erickson just now? So Betsy and Crystal, we may find more people to join you. How about you to also join them? So 4 of you would be in charge of social emotional development, and the 3 of you, Sarah and
Kelly.
Yes. Kelly and
Kelly.
Yes, right. Yeah. Just a tiny green thousand. Yes. So 2 Kellys and Sarah, you will work with how about physical development? Okay, and so Cindy and George, I'm sorry, you seem to be the smallest group, so you will do cognitive development. How about that? And so Carrie, Melissa, and Kira, you will work on language development. You have to make it very systematic, you know. You just talk about what you took away from the reading. I highlighted many things. I used sticky notes. I hope you would do the same thing or many more things while reading. So just pick out those pieces you think are very important for us to know, or things you feel so strongly related to, and then share with us. You can also cite from your personal experiences. You know, once something happened, it really is to this point. It happened just the way it was discussed in the book. Does it make sense to you? Let's just talk about it, all right? Let's give it about 10 minutes, and we'll see how it goes, all right?
Can't sit up. He's very he's a monster child. Looks like an old man in this pavement little body. He's just got this old face. So, I think it was interesting too how it talked about the culture. Yeah. They're big into being independent or not.
I've seen. But my nephew, who's a couple years old now, gets to play all the games and everything else. He's like, "Oh, I cannot." I said, "I can tell you." And that's one biggest thing with that is that the social problems that kids will have to see. Some kids aren't, and then they go over there to the friend's house. Oh, he's got
You know, here about with the mobile infants and the kids are grasping. And then you think about how many kids do we have that come, they can't do that. They can't do.
My original plan about this part actually is for you to create a concept map or a flow chart. You know, obviously the ages or even months were mentioned in almost each section about the different kinds of development. But time-wise, I don't want you to draw or write because it would be more time-consuming. So I'll be interested in hearing. I think we'll all be in hearing each other's experiences or feelings while reading this part. And how do you feel? It informs your practice in the past or in the future. So we have social, emotional, if you don't mind. So let me start. Yeah, the free chatting.
We were just talking
I was talking from experience with this with development.
We have a word. I'm sorry. Do you just talk a bit?
Yeah, this is with the social and emotional development. I was talking from experience with the observations that we're doing. I have a little young boy, he's roughly 18 months, and his dad's in prison. He's the NFL player that was arrested here, and he has no males in his life, and his social development toward males is completely different because it's all females around him, and at the school it's all females for teachers, and he doesn't get that male interaction that most of these young children that have parents in prison or single moms and dads get. And I just thought it was interesting that this is talking about the same thing, going over how a child needs that, interaction from male and female. So
Absolutely, yeah. And unfortunately, we have, well, to take that word out, I mean, well, in American society, we have many single-parent families. Well, it would be true to a good extent in Chinese society as well. But well, just anecdotally, I don't have the stats for them. I assume there might be less single-parent family in Chinese society due to many other factors. Actually, if you look at the situation from another side, that means the social welfare system is better developed here. Yeah. So the families of whatever kind or structure can still go on and be supported. What I want to say is that we have quite a population of children who are single-parent families, single moms and single dad. So really, a teacher have to play different roles. You have to think in terms of their needs. So we are talking about social emotion, which is so important in developing their, we may say, softer skills, which are really, really important to a person's success in the future. Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't think anything else.
Well, I thought it was interesting. I mean, from my job that I do, I work with kids who have gone through trauma. I thought it was interesting there's nothing about like adverse effects, I guess, like negative effects to social emotional.
Maybe not here.
I just thought that was interesting because I went through an ugly divorce when my son was 2, and I think that experience, he has trauma from that. My son does, just emotional and mental trauma for being so little when it happened. And
I'm sorry to say that even 2 years old, he felt strong enough.
He does, because he still has like traumatic things. He has responses to things that are trauma based now. Like just how he doesn't think through things that he should know how to do by now, and how he processes emotions, and that's just why I took, because it just made me think of him.
I have a neighbor, actually, I would say a friend of my wife's. Her child and my bigger one, Abigail, go to the same class. They were the best buddies, 2 girls. And she just experienced a divorce last year, and I think it's okay for me to say this since you don't know her. The son, who is 8 years old, and the daughter, who is almost a 7-year-old, they responded differently to the divorce. The son was more outgoing boy, but this young girl, she wasn't. Oftentimes she chose not to express her feelings even to her mom. I would say probably due to that. Yeah, and over a period of time, when she accumulated, well, you would probably quote unquote unhappy little incidents, enough of them, and she would just explode, just let out feelings. And it was hard, but I think it would be a transition period. We don't deny the effect of divorce in the family, of course, but it's kind of common or everywhere. It's kind of, I was thinking, what would be better? What choice, what option, which route might be better for this mom? Would you keep the father in house, other his father? In the mom's eye, he's not at all a good role model for his children. But anyhow, there's a father figure, like what Robert said, a male figure in the house, or the other way around. The children will grow better without the influence, the negative influence from this figure. I didn't know. I wasn't sure. My wife said the mom must have made a good decision, a right decision, because they are all happier now. Yeah, most, yeah. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so social emotional. Let's move on to physical. Who are in charge of physical review? Yeah.
One of the things we talked about is in here under a mobile infant, it talks about that their pincer grasp becomes more developed. And we know that, in pre-K we get kids that don't have that. So it just, it shows that this is where it should have started. And, there's 3 to 4, well, not 3-year-olds, but 4 and 5-year-olds that come in and, their pencil grasp is not developed. So holding a pencil, cutting with scissors is not there.
It also talked about that for the physical development that they will, infants and children will develop at different rates, but they'll still go through the same progression. So they're not all gonna, boom, they're 8 months today. They're not all gonna learn how to do the different skills. So I'm in a daycare for my infant toddler block, and it's just interesting to see that the 6-month-old baby can do so much more than the 8-month-old baby. But then I found out a little bit about the families, and one's a foster child and was taken from birth, and there were medical problems with the parents as well. So I kind of look at that and I wonder if that's kind of what's causing, some of the delays, and they're asking me some different things to do to help the child with the muscle tone and, things like that, because he can't really, he's like a 3-month-old, even though he's 8 months old. So I've been doing some research to try to help the daycare director figure out what they can do to help him. So
yeah, you did your job. How important it was to look into the family background.
Right. Yeah. Because I kind of asked about that, and then it also talks about how culture can influence physical development. That some families want the kids to be more independent, and some would rather them not. So you're okay. Did you have? Oh. Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Pretty much, there's a lot of factors that can affect development, physical development. I think culture and the way kids are raised, different backgrounds can make a difference.
If they're the baby of the family or not, somebody's doing everything for them. So that's something to look at too.
Family situation of how their physical develop, how at the rate, and sometimes they're just born with some defects that can affect their development.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I was examining myself, reflecting on my own parenting practices. I don't think I'm perfect, even at all. If I compare my family, what my wife and I have been doing to, I think I can say typical American family, just a close neighbor, one house away. They, in the evening, even in summer, if it is a little bit cooler, they would be outside. Of course, they are at the end of the cul-de-sac, and that's their advantage. I mean, they probably, of course, paid more for the house. It has 4 garages. Yeah, the previous owner just loved cars, apparently. 4 garages. And so they, the 2 young boys, both would be younger if I compare 1 to 1, one is at the same as Abigail, almost a 7-year-old. They will be playing outside, playing with basketball, baseball, riding bikes or little vehicles. My girls, they just don't like to do it. Even if I pushed at them. Yeah, my wife, sometimes she did, but less frequently. So they are more outdoor family, and we are more indoor family. I don't feel too good about that. That's one thing. The other is independence or dependence. So the culture of developing or educating your children about their autonomy. I think, I don't know what they were doing in their house, I don't know, but I'm thinking about ourselves. We are doing too much. We might be, in general, we might be doing much more to help our children so that they depend on us for longer than average American families. I think that's part of our culture, Chinese culture. My wife and me even are still feeding our 5-year-old. I mean, not, yeah, I know. I'm sorry, yeah. Well, even this part is recorded. She started the meal by eating by herself, but then she would, after a while, she would run away, run off the table. And so while grandparents were here, okay, there we go, that's the problem. My wife's parents, they were very helpful, extremely helpful. Yeah, I was deeply grateful for what they have been doing. Now they are not here during this summer. So my mother-in-law would just chase her and feed. So far, she couldn't just finish one meal by herself. Yeah, you may laugh at me hard. I'm an educator, and I'm even an educator, future educators, so I didn't do a good job in that.
So
Yeah.
it's okay.
I try to be revolutionary this summer so that she would be independent, either starting this fall because she will be in a full day kindergarten. Yeah. Well, actually, at school, sometimes, on some occasions, she could eat to be full. American food, or especially fast food, those are her favorite. That makes a difference. Yeah. One more thing from me, I'm sorry, before the next group of presenters. Talking about physical development, and several reflexes were mentioned. In our culture, and I also believe it to be scientifically reasonable, I want to call it startle reflex among infants or little babies. We know that, right? If the baby was lying there, either in a crib or somewhere, and you pick his or her arms up, you don't just release them and drop them. If you did, most likely they will shake. They will be startled. And if they were startled, in many cases, I would say, the eye pits will grow a little bit grayish or dark grayish, or bluish. So if that happens, you can tell this child was startled or frightened, and it will affect their dieting, affect their sleeping pattern. Yeah, in our culture, we deeply believe that. We think being startled among babies, it's very bad. It's a serious thing for you to pay attention to. Then you have to do something, either using superstitious treatments or use some physical therapy. Yeah. So I think all parents or child care providers here, as far as I look at it, we would just hold their arms until they were rested onto the surface. Yeah. All the limbs. Yeah. I saw. My own babies, even some other people's very young babies, they would just, if we accidentally just drop their limbs, they would just shake the whole body, would just shake or even shake for a couple of seconds, and that's really, it touched my heart. I'm sorry. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Something to share.
My baby in my group.
Have you got grandchildren, by the way? I'm sorry. If you haven't.
No, in the daycare.
In the daycare.
Because I've got birth through age 9, so I've got a big group.
Yeah, wow.
So I get to see all of it. So it's kind of neat.
Yeah. A good map of human development.
It is, yeah.
Okay. So we have language development or cognitive development. Feel free. Yeah. So either Cindy and George or Carrie, Melissa, and Carol.
You can start, George.
Okay. Okay, so we went over the cognitive system for children, and basically the cognitive system is an addition of both the I'm losing it right now, of both the memory and both the language and the memory of a child. So it's basically what language the child knows already and the memories from what they've experienced. And I think from my experience, I had to observe a few children this morning as part of my field experience. And I think what I've noticed about a lot of kids is that they'll take an object and then they'll just drop it. And then they'll take another object and just drop it. And to me, I think that's interesting because what they're doing is discovering that, if I drop objects, it's going to fall. Well, why does it fall? Well, they're not going to know the meaning of gravity yet, but it's still, they're already learning about that concept. They're thinking about that concept. And I just think it's just interesting that what they do with their play, they like we just talked about, the way kids learn is by playing. And I think just by observing them play, it really teaches you what they know and what they don't know yet. Anything to add?
Yeah, another word, if I may jump in right after George, just a little bit. So it's a very good point that children, the example is very typical. They like to move things and then they want to drop it to the floor. My younger one, the 5-year-old, even just not too long before she turned 5-year-old, she still did that. Yeah. And she did that when she or my bigger one back in Pennsylvania, 5 or even 6 years ago, in one of my supervisor's office, they were there and they dropped the things repeatedly from their desk. And of course, my supervisor is also an educator. She had a lot of experience with the children. She understands it. Yeah, let her experiment. So that's the word, experimenting. They learn a lot from playing, from experimenting things. That's the way we all learn. Yeah. Sometimes they get hurt. Sometimes they are not happy with the results they get, and they just keep doing it until it makes a difference. My children, well, they want to flip the bottle, of water bottles to see which time it will land by standing. Yeah, they thought it was very interesting. Daddy, I said, how fun, but it's meaningful to them, really. Yeah, cognitively and scientifically. Yeah, experimenting with things. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Cindy. Yeah, I guess it's your floor.
Well, I think it's important to remember that cognitive development begins at birth, and children are born ready to learn. And so the environment and what we stimulate them with is a constant way of providing a good, solid learning environment. Not all children are coming into our classrooms with the same experiences. That doesn't mean they are less smart than their peers. They maybe just have not been exposed to it directly or in the same way. So it's important to look at their backgrounds and not assume that because of their physical nature, because of their IQ, a lot of it is the way they were nurtured at home versus that physical nature of their capacity for learning. So taking those two things into account and remembering that they are learning every moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very good point. And I think your talk could be a very good illustration of nature and nurture, the dynamics between nature and nurture. Yeah, we believe in both. And many people, we probably all believe that children or people are born to be sponges. And do we believe that we are born with a structure? I think most of us do. We are born with a cognitive structure. So as soon as there's stimuli, which there is all the time, and we'll get the input, we'll just absorb things from the external world. As a transition to language development, it's not Jean Piaget, but Noam Chomsky developed the still living linguist. Mainly he's a linguist. He's also many other things. He's also a politically active advocate. Noam Chomsky, N-O-A-M, Chomsky, he developed one of the theoretical constructs he developed is universal grammar. He focuses on language development, of course. By universal grammar, within quotes, he meant that we human beings, why are we different from animals? All dogs in the world bark the same way. It's not that a dog in London would bark with a British accent. A dog in Japanese would bark like with a kind of similar way to British English or more Japanese way. No, but we humans do. We have a unique structure different from animals. He called it universal grammar. So that's a linguistic acquiring structure. So he believed that. Interestingly, some other people don't believe that. Yeah, they don't think there is a pre-existing structure. And the counter argument is that we stopped the efficiency in acquiring any language at a certain point. A newly born baby, if you put him or her into any country, any culture, he or she picks up the language and develops into a natural, authentic set of language. So he or she will be a native speaker, sounding perfect. But if you put me, not me, say a 15-year-old me, into America, and I will be raised since then there, would I acquire the same authentic language, American English? What? Over time. Over time, well, maybe over a long, long time, and then maybe, so, okay, 15, maybe to, okay, make it older, say 20-year-old. Well, maybe it would be safer for me to say maybe not through the lifetime. Yeah, you cannot acquire the authentic accent, the feeling, the typical American accent.
You get the basics of it.
Of course.
My son was that way. He was born in England, and all the way through when he was 5, he had a British accent. And so they'd ask us if he was adopted, and but then we moved to Mississippi, and he picked up the Southern twang within 2 or 3 years. So he lost it, but it was just the environment he was in.
Yeah, we'll be going a bit too far about the language acquisition, but it's very interesting. That should happen as environment, right? Again, the input. Yeah, the input really matters. If there is no input, there is no development of anything, including language. Yeah. So, but that's an interesting example. Yeah, very vivid example. Yeah, from your son. Yeah. So that's the counter argument. Yeah. So Chomsky's explanation, sorry, too much about him, is that the structure works for a while. Yeah, it has an expiration date on everyone. Yeah. So that leads to another hypothesis, input, critical period hypothesis. It's still a hypothesis, which means that we human beings, the best age period to acquire a language to the perfect proficiency would be just from 0 to about 5 or 6. And a good period would last until 11 to 12. After that, the complete proficiency or authenticity of a language cannot be acquired. Sorry, too much about that. Because I have a background in linguistics from my master program. Okay, I don't want to steal any thunder from you about language development. from Carrie, Melissa, and Kira. So yeah, what do you have there? What do you want to share?
Okay, well, what I took away from this section was just the amazing, the vast amount of language that takes place from birth to 3 years. You know, it talks about even at birth, infants, they can, you know, turn their head to hear sounds. Their face will brighten. They'll make gurgling sounds. You know, it's all part of that process. You know, mobile infants, they'll start to smile, they'll cry when they're unhappy. I mean, it's all a way of communicating, building that foundation all the way up until we reach toddlers who can get to the point where they can say, you know, approximately 50 words. It just made me think back to that article we were to read for our reflection, where it was talking about early intervention services and just the importance of that knowledge out there, because, you know, we have here, I don't know if it's all over, we have a program called Parents as Teachers that, you know, goes in and does education to some parents, because, you know, we still have some people that have that mindset, well, they're 3 months old, they can't look at the book, they can't communicate, so why should I be reading to them? And, you know, I think all of that early intervention plays a big role in helping parents to understand this whole process of language does start from birth, and the importance of those facial interactions, noises you make back and forth to your children, reading to them even if they, you know, aren't looking at the book or, you know, sitting still. Just it all plays a role.
I quite agree with you. Yeah, it's a little bit surprising to learn that there must be, even now, parents who just thought like the ones you encounter. They don't think, well, if you read to a 3 months old or even just a newborns, it would have any effect on them. Actually, it does, for sure. Yeah. It even has a long-term effect if you just complain, right? Read aloud, even just speaking, talking to them. I believe we have all done that. Yeah, it helps a lot. Even during the prenatal stage, right? You talk to the belly, either your own belly or I talk to like my wife's belly. If I could do it, we'll have a third one. And we play music to the you know, pregnant belly, the prenatal babies, if we can call them babies, fetuses. Yeah, it all works. So what I want to say is that just like what you said, we should educate or spread such awareness among those parents who ignore this or are not doing enough. Okay, enough on me for now. Yeah, Melissa or Kira, anything else to add?
Yes, this time I do. I just thought that it was what I gained. I understand that we communicate through face expressions, but for like birth to 3 years old, it was just really, really neat to see that. And then, you know, we're not every child is gonna gain the same language development, and just how children can just read our body signals. I have a personal experience, you know, like my son, he will get mad, and because we cuddle together, and when he gets mad at me because when we have to go to bed, he'll turn away. Well, I will talk to him and just let him know, like, you know, we can't be up late. And so after talking to him, he'll finally turn around and talk to me, and cuddle with me. And I just think it's really important, because when we all notice body language, but in the teaching field where children are involved, it helps us to observe their bodies closer than what anybody else would normally.
Yeah, you focus on facial expression and behavior, especially physical behavior from parents and its influence or its impact on children, right? Yeah, absolutely, yes. Yeah, I agree with you too. There are many signs or signals we convey from our, expressions or behavior that would be just taken or interpreted deeply by the children. Yeah, so we should also pay attention to that, either as parents or as educators. In particular, educators. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. So Melissa. Yep.
The major thing that I took was that children can understand more than they can express. The last 5 years I've been teaching kindergarten, so I see that a lot, especially in liberal. We have a lot of ESL students. But I have a question, and it may have nothing to do with this topic, but you talked about how, like, if you brought a baby into the culture, how it would adapt and it would be similar to that culture. What about those kids that are learning 2 languages? Like, I had a lot of students that didn't really speak Spanish, but they didn't really speak English either. Granted, they were only 5 at the time, but what happens to those kids, you know?
So I like your question. I really like your question. Are you asking about, say, the kids you have in your classroom? How long have they been in this country?
A lot of the students I had, their parents, they've been here since birth, but like at home, their parents only speak Spanish, or they only get English at school, or the other, only certain people speak to them one way and certain people speak to them another way. So they don't really get that full language from
Exposure.
anyone. Mm-hmm.
So what's your question about them then? Are you asking about how will their English language will develop? Will they achieve the full proficiency?
Yeah. Will they be proficient in either language, or how does that develop? It doesn't depend on the kid.
Very good question. Yeah. I plan to talk about that. Yeah, seriously. So first is because we have a section related to that on page 34. Language learners. Yeah, I have something to share based on that part, because the children you were talking about in your question actually are very similar to 2 of my kids. My 2 kids. Yeah. Although we do not only speak Chinese at our house, but my wife and I. We, at a certain point, not too long after they were born, or when my first one grew up a little bit, say 2 years or 3 years old, we decided that we would try not to speak English to them in our house. Yeah, because they have a lot of English exposure outside the house. So as soon as they were outside, the channel is in English, every channel. So we don't want their Chinese to just totally die out, or just to die at the beginning, not developing at all. Well, to answer your question more directly, is that in this environment in America, their language, if their family, their caregivers, their parents, their grandparents speak another language, so they will be developing bilingually both language, at least verbally. English probably will also be in written form, will achieve the full proficiency. Because they were exposed to them from birth. They were exposed to them every day. Yeah. So they learn, they pick up English at school. When they are back at home, they are exposed to Spanish, to Vietnamese, to Chinese every day. Well, we might also, of course, we might be wondering, so how fast will that be? How fast will their language development be compared with their peers? It's natural that they may show slower development in both languages. Yeah, but eventually they will pick up. And there are many research or studies on this bilingual development among children. And the benefits would outweigh the drawbacks, because the drawbacks are temporary. And especially brain research combined with the test results. So it was proven. I can't remember which hemisphere in the brain it was, but really bilingual or multilingual development increased the stimuli to certain areas in the brain. For example, analyzing ability or multitasking naturally, quite a few areas would be better developed. So in the long term, definitely it's a plus. It's a benefit to human beings, to bilingual language developers. My younger one, my bigger one's English is just, I would say, wonderful. Yeah, even his writing ability is better than quite some of his classmates. Well, my younger one, they were a little bit different in language development, obvious differences. So when I'm the instructor, I can make adjustments. Right? Yeah, so I want to say something. All right, so please bear with me. What I want to say is that, yeah, when Abigail back in Pennsylvania, she turned 3 years old in Pennsylvania. At 3-year-old, you can attend pre-K for free. So she was admitted into the pre-K, actually on our university. For the first semester, she almost didn't talk at all for the entire semester. She probably participated in physical activities, but she didn't talk. I think she wasn't confident in her English because her English, I mean, at first into school, she wasn't good. She knows some from us, but it wasn't enough. We spoke mostly Chinese at our house. For the second semester, I would say she rarely spoke. She spoke so few times that most of her classmates were just taken aback when the semester was almost over and she started talking. A couple of kids said, Abigail could talk. That was sad to us, but we were not totally surprised. We were aware of this. Of course, we want her to talk. And her teacher, we just love her teacher. Mrs. Holly. She's a dedicated early childhood educator. Yeah, one of the best. Yeah, almost the best one I have seen. Yeah, I feel emotional when I mention it. She's just a caring individual. You can sense the love of any child, at least mine, I know probably to every kid she had in the classroom. The love is natural. It's obvious. You can see the responsible, the caring, the love she had. But anyhow, that is what happened to this individual. I mean, my child, Abigail. Well, during all this time, she wasn't there for nothing. Actually, her language developed, although she didn't talk too much. She picked it up. So when we moved to Kansas when she was 4, 2015, we moved. She finished, actually, she graduated pre-K, the second year in pre-K. So she talked a lot more in the second year. Yeah, when she was 4 years old. And since then, her English just skyrocketed. Yeah. So I seem to be talking about the importance of exposure or input from the environment. Yeah. And also, the delay is temporary for bilingual developers or bilingual children. Yeah. For Chinese, I would say even her oral Chinese is not so good as English. Yeah, not at all. Not to mention written at all. She could write English, write a few lines about daddy, which just made me feel so good. Yeah, but in Chinese, no. Yeah, that's due to the input and the external stimuli. Yeah, if I talk about Claire, it will be too long. But Claire long story short, she started with English, some English in her already when she started pre-K a year ago. Yeah. So she wasn't all silent. She was shy, but she still talked. Yeah. So now sometimes maybe I was used the word confused. She may appear confused between two languages or struggled. She struggled or hesitated to choose which linguistic system or just a single pieces or terms to use. Yeah, but I think she will get there. Yeah, and you may say she's slower in English and also in Chinese, but she could communicate. Yeah, and eventually she will get there. And also her English is better than Chinese. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a sad thing to us, but yeah, well, school-wise, it's fine. If you have more questions, I can answer during the break. Let's have a break for about 5 minutes. How about that? Yeah. Thank you for hard work, sir. Yeah.